The British general didn't blink. For a moment, he thought the fog was playing tricks on him. The same grey Normandy dawn that had hidden German patrols for years was now hiding something else, something massive, something moving. He lifted his binoculars slowly. At first, he saw only a dark smear on the horizon. Then it grew wider, darker, thicker, and then he froze. Because that smear wasn't fog. It wasn't clouds. It wasn't the morning light. It was the largest invasion fleet in the history of mankind. American, stretching from one end of the sea to the other. He lowered the binoculars, stunned. His aide whispered, "Sir, is that all for us?" He didn't answer. He couldn't. For years, Britain had stood alone. 4 years of bombing, starvation, defeat, loss. But now, America had arrived, and the ocean groaned under the weight of their power. The general finally exhaled. "We've never seen anything like this," an officer whispered, trembling. "Some of these ships are bigger than our entire 1940 fleet." The general's voice dropped. "Gentlemen, this is the day the world changes." Transports pushed through the waves like floating fortresses. Thousands of soldiers inside, behind them destroyers, cruisers, carriers, a wall of steel advancing toward France. Then the sky darkened. American C-47s swarmed overhead, stretching so far back the formation seemed endless. The general tried to speak. "That's not a fleet. That's a nation. Moving." The engines shook the cliffs. The sea thundered. A British colonel whispered, "With this much firepower, do the Germans stand a chance?" "They'll have to," the general muttered, "because those boys are walking straight into hell." Another officer whispered, "I didn't know America had this much." "No one did," the general said. "Not even Germany." He stared at the black horizon of ships. "Get the men ready. D-Day begins now." The camera pulls back. The fleet grows. The dawn brightens. Britain had survived alone, but today they would win together. The warning didn't come from a shout or a radio. It came from a radar operator in a cramped, humming van. He leaned closer to his screen, froze, and whispered, "Oh no." He hit the alarm. Sirens wailed across the cliffs. The general snapped up his binoculars. At first, he saw only the American armada. Then dark shapes cut across the clouds, fast, low, countless aircraft. Too many for a patrol. German, the liaison checked. No, not German. The roar grew louder, the sky shook, and then he understood. Dear God, they're ours. Hundreds of American fighters and bombers ripped across the sky. The officers panicked. "We didn't schedule this. This wasn't in the operation timetable." The general knew what it meant. The Americans weren't early. They were reacting. Something had happened offshore, something big. A radio operator burst out, "Sir, emergency signal from an American destroyer." The general read the message. His hands trembled. A German wolf pack slipped past the screen. "A submarine attack, sir." "No," he whispered. Several the invasion could be shattered before it began. 500,000 Allied lives were out there. But the last line of the signal froze the entire tower. American sonar has detected something extremely large, moving under the fleet, larger than a U-boat. The general nodded slowly. Much larger. The sky roared above. The sea thundered below. Something enormous was waiting beneath them. "Get every naval commander," the general said. Now, the command post exploded into chaos. Radios crackled, maps shifted. Officers shouted. The threat wasn't on paper. T was under the sea. "Report," the general ordered. "Sir, American sonar is tracking something big enough to distort readings. U cruiser." "No, sir, too fast. Too deep." "A shadow," the officer added. A moving shadow. Thunder from thousands of American aircraft shook the tents overhead. "If that thing hits the transport line," an aide whispered, "it could cripple the invasion." A message arrived. Enemy shadow moving between the first and second transport columns. The general went cold. Those ships were packed with men.
A sunken giant was sliding toward the invasion lanes and could trigger a chain reaction that would sink dozens of ships. "Get every minesweeper and escort vessel," the general ordered. They had until sunrise. The first wave never screamed. The ramps dropped and the world exploded. Machine gun tracers tore across the surf. Soldiers fell before they even touched the sand. The sea turned dark, darker, red in places. From the cliffs, the general clinched the railing. This was the part no one talked about. This was where boys became bodies. Down on the beach, mud, blood, smoke, chaos. But the Americans didn't stop. They crawled, dragged friends, blew gaps in wire. A flamethrower team advanced through bullets snapping around their helmets. The youngest officer whispered, "They aren't retreating." "Americans don't retreat," the general said. A soldier sprinted into open fire to save a wounded comrade. Another called naval gunfire onto a bunker just yards from himself. Another stood upright, firing back at the cliffs, one by one. The bunkers fell silent. Then it happened, the moment the general would never forget. 12 exhausted, bleeding Americans rose together and charged. No hesitation, no fear, no stopping. Inside the bunkers, Germans panicked. "They keep coming. They don't stop." Momentum shifted. A breach opened. "Sir, they're through the first line." The general closed his eyes. "Tell command. The beach is being taken." Reinforcements poured through the breach. Smoke signals rose. Wounded were dragged back. Strong points fell. "They'll hold the beach," a colonel said. "They won't just hold it," the general replied. "They'll own it." Smoke clung to the cliffs. German fire weakened shorter, desperate. The general stepped back. He had watched American boys fight through hell for hours. And now everything was changing. The slaughterhouse at dawn was becoming a fortress by noon. "They've taken the high ground," the youngest officer said. Tanks crawled out of the surf. Massive Shermans dripping seawater. Some got stuck. Some were hit, but most kept coming. German troops saw them and broke. "Where are the panzers?" There were none left. "Sir, American airborne are linking with the beach troops." "That fast?" "Yes, sir. They're already pushing for the roads." The roads, Germany's lifelines. Once cut, the defense collapses. "The Germans are trapped," the general whispered. Europe was coming back. Behind him, thousands of American ships still crowded the horizon. More troops, more supplies. More power than Germany could ever stop. A British officer asked, "What should we tell London?" The general inhaled. "Tell them. The Western Front is open." The youngest officer whispered, "Does this mean the war can actually be won?" "For the first time," the general said. "Yes." The camera pulls back. Blood-soaked sand, shattered bunkers, crawling tanks, endless ships, endless planes. Britain endured the storm. America brought the thunder. And together, they began to take back the world.